I'm your huckleberry.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see on the tabletop today, we have the Tisas 1911 DS. As you guys have been seeing on the channel, I've been doing a lot of testing and shooting with this gun, and now I'm finally to the point where I'm going to start doing a few upgrades. So the one complaint that I have with the Tisas is if you pull the trigger up here at the top, it is a perfect trigger pull. No issues whatsoever. Good return, good reset. But if you come down here at the bottom and pull it, it's not terrible. It's certainly worse with a magazine installed, but it drags like hell. So pulling up here, perfect. Pulling down here, kind of shitty. So I'm going to try to remedy that by replacing the trigger shoe and trigger bow. And I've never done this on a 1911, so this should be a fun experience. But this is the one I've picked out. I have a thing for flat face triggers. And honestly, I couldn't decide on a color, so I just went completely basic and got the gold one. So we'll see how this fits. And then I also picked up a Colt sear spring. So I'm going to try that in it and see if it's an improvement over the factory sear spring. We'll see how that goes as we go along. But without further ado, let me go ahead and start taking this thing down. Drop the magazine. It is clear. Go ahead and push down on the recoil plug. Pull out the recoil spring. We're going to spin the bushing off. Take that off. We're going to push this back to the takedown notch. And pop the takedown pin out. And now we're going to take the slide off. Next upgrade, I may do a full-length guide rod. It hasn't proven itself to be absolutely necessary. But there we go. So that's taken apart. Now we got to take apart the frame. So we're going to start by removing the safety on this side, which has proven itself in the time I've done this to be a bit of a bear. I may need to grab a tool to aid me in its removal. Grab a pair of little pliers, right there. There we go. Got it out. You got to watch out for that pin. You don't want to lose it. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull it out. Then we're going to take that off. That's going to allow us to remove the tang. That exposes a lot of things back here. Your hammer spring, your sear, all that jazz. We're going to have to take all that out to change this stuff out. So, let me get my takedown punch. I'm going to go ahead and close the hammer. Take the pressure off that spring. We're going to take our punch. Push out that mainspring housing pin. We'll remove that. Going to fold the hammer spring out of the way. Pull out that sear spring. Now let's take a look at that sear spring versus this Colt one. I want to see what the big differences are. Well, there's certainly some differences. So let's see how the Colt one performs, and if it doesn't perform, we'll put the factory one back in. Alright, next up, I'm going to have to take the grip off of the frame. For that, I'm going to need a few tools. Let me find my screwdriver kit. Actually, if I remember correctly, I used the little vortex tools. They fit perfectly on that. Yep, that's a perfect fit. That is as well. So we'll break that loose. Okay, good. That screw head came out. I'm going to take and push that pin out the rest of the way. Put them off to the side. Next thing we'll have to do is figure out which size that is. I want to say it was a 3mm. Yep, it is. We're going to take our 3mm, remove the grip screw, flip it over, remove that grip screw as well. And we're going to have to push out the grip screw bushing. There's one. Push out the other bushing. There's two. And then that comes off. Next step is we're going to have to remove the safety. That is very simple. Going to find our tiny little screwdriver. And this is pretty simple. Just going to take our little screwdriver, insert it. I have to turn it the other way. See if I can remember which way to take it. There it is. And she's out. Now I can remove the trigger bow. All that just to get to the trigger, but that is what we got. Alright, so let's take a look at the factory trigger bow versus the new one. They appear to be shaped very similarly. Let's see if they're the same width. They do appear to be. Alright, it actually looks pretty damn close. So, need to find that little Allen key so I can adjust the set screw out of this a bit. There it is. Let's go in here and back that set screw off a smidge because I don't know exactly where I want that set just yet. Let's see how it fits first of all. It's a pretty good fit. I don't see any major issues. It certainly looks pretty good. It is very smooth. I don't feel it binding up on anything. That top to bottom play is definitely gone, so I'm hoping that'll help that issue with trying to pull on the bottom. Okay. That is a good sign. Now let's go ahead and reinsert the safety. Not the safety, I'm sorry, the mag release. Alright, now the mag release is in, it's capturing that. Alright, and I can always adjust that set screw later. That's for over travel adjustment. So now without further ado, let's put this thing back together and see if we've ruined it or not. No, of course we haven't. Alright, we're going to put that up out of the way. We're going to put that back in play. Okay. Alright, good. Get these bastardly bushings. These fucking things were the bane of my existence the last time I did this job. But now they actually are working pretty well, not giving me a super hard time. Alright, so there's one bushing installed. Let's go ahead and take this one. The last time I was taking this thing apart, I dropped one of these bushings working on it at the table, and it fell into the vent, and that fucking sucked. Thankfully, I had one of those super powerful magnets and a stick, and I was able to fish the bushing out. But the moral of the story is, stay away from the vent when you're working on this fucking thing, because you don't want to lose a bushing down there. It definitely sucks. Take my word for it. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and get this thing put back together. If you saw how I took it apart, it just goes back together in reverse order. If you have any questions, just hit me up, but I'm going to go ahead and skip to the part where I've got this finished. See you in a moment. Alright guys, I'm back. As you can see, I have everything put together. A few things I do want to mention. The Colt sear spring, while I'm sure it will work with some tuning, it was having some major issues with hammer follow, so I took that out, put the factory spring back in. I did adjust the over travel screw. If you send it all the way in, you won't be able to pull the trigger. So I adjusted it back out until the trigger works flawlessly with no issues. Weapon is clear. So now if you can see, you have very little take up. Super nice break. You can pull from the bottom. Also very little take up. So now no matter where your finger lands on the trigger, you have a very clean break. Let's go ahead and get this thing out to the range, and we'll put a few rounds through it, and I'll give you my honest opinion of if I think it made a big improvement over the factory Tisas trigger. And I can tell you now, without having actually fired live rounds, just dry firing it, it feels 100% better. Plus, you know, let's be honest, it looks really good. So there it is. There's the installation, albeit kind of, you know, shoddy. I'm not the greatest filmographer. But that was the installation for the trigger. I feel like if you can take this thing apart based off what I did, you could see how to install that. Did not have to do any manipulation of the trigger bow whatsoever, thank God, because I wasn't looking forward to that. But it definitely fixes the problem with the trigger pull. If you've noticed any inconsistencies on your Tisas, that is where it was coming. Well, that's what I've noticed is the fix. These triggers are okay. Certainly not my favorite. This trigger is impeccable. It really made a huge difference for like maybe 40 bucks I think I paid for it. But I'm going to stop talking. That was the installation. See you guys at the range and we'll test it out. Alright guys, welcome back. So as we just talked about on the table stop, I just swapped out the trigger for the Fusion Firearms 2011 trigger that I found on eBay. I'm not sure if I can link it in the description or anything, but I'll try to include some information there that'll help you find it. But yeah, so this is the 2011 trigger that I got on eBay. I'm going to test it out now. I am putting the Prodigy mag back in. You guys know I've had some issues with that. I did do a little tuning on the magazine and just kind of sand it down a little bit to change it slightly on its the widest dimensions. And that certainly helped. But what I did notice is I was still having trouble shooting with the Prodigy mag installed. The trigger was just very bad. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. And if the trigger still feels bad on this, I'm just going to swap out to the factory Prodigy mag, and we're going to see how this trigger feels as it, you know, as we're trying it out. So far, just from dry firing, it seems like it's much better. But let's see how it performs. Hey, ran perfectly well, no issues whatsoever, and it ran well with the Prodigy mag, so I am super fucking happy about that. I am going to go ahead and try the Tisas mag as well, just to see if there's any difference that I can note. But I can tell you, with just the tune, just changing that trigger shoe and bow, it made a huge difference for me, and that's well worth a $40 upgrade in my mind. What I can do, I may not be able to link, but I will post a screenshot of this particular trigger here in the video. And then you guys can use that to find one for yourself if you have the Tisas. It did work fine for me. It was a direct drop-in. I didn't have to make any modifications whatsoever. And I'm thoroughly impressed with it. That is way better than the factory trigger and trigger shoe. Well worth the money. 2 more rounds. All right, I've got a magazine loaded up here of the factory Tisas. Let's see how this stuff performs. Ran through every round of that, no problem as well. Super happy I did this modification. I'm really happy I changed the trigger out. It looks a lot better. It certainly performs much better. And there it is, guys. Thanks for checking out the video. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.